Good evening, councillors. I declare the meeting opened at 6:31 p.m. and we move then to item 65, our notice of motion. Councillor Hussein.
So my motion tonight is about food and garden organic collections and aims to reduce organic materials going into landfills. Cumberland Council's waste and resource strategies was developed in response for us to be able to adapt our waste management practice to develop markets, change policies and legislations required and community expectations, a strategic approach to waste management that supports our community to reduce waste, encourage resources recovery and ensure clean public places. The strategy articulates our goals and what we are trying to achieve through the implementation of the strategy. One of the key goals in this strategy, Madam Mayor, is improving resource recovery. To do so, we must investigate, implement and monitor opportunities that improves resources recovery. There are also key focuses within the strategies that are avoid and reduce waste, increase recycling and divert more waste from landfills, and manage household problems waste better. My motion tonight is about achieving these goals. As we all know, the Department of Planning and Industrial and Environment have also developed a strategy to address waste recovery. The New South Wales Waste and Materials Strategy says that we must halve our food waste to landfill and achieve net zero emission from organic in landfills by 2030. This means that all councils will be required to collect separately food and garden organics from all New South Wales households by 2030. In other words, this is a mandate from the New South Wales Government, which means we must act now. Behavioural change takes time and 2030 is just around the corner. Therefore, I'm asking for a report to be brought back to Council on how best to implement the FOGO by way of a trial program. I'm proud to say that after tonight, if this motion is supported by Chamber, we will start the process. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hussein. Councillor Hamed.
I'll go my right for now.
Thank you. I have Councillor Rahme.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to ask, I'd like to commend Councillor Hussein on this motion. As I do with all motions, how do we plan to measure whether this is, I don't know, it's just a request for a report, but and I know the answer may be that no thought has been given, which is fine, but has any thought been given as to how we could potentially measure the successfulness of a campaign like this?
Councillor Rahme, are you directing that to a particular councillor or the General Manager? Or
the mover of the motion, and if he hasn't given it thought, that's fine.
Thank you, Councillor Rahme. Councillor Hussein, would you like to, you can take it on notice or you can
take
reply?
It on notice, Madam Mayor.
It's taken on notice. Thank you, Councillor Rahme. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I think the issue that Councillor Hussein has raised is a very important one, and I must say that I'm better informed by the comments the good councillor has made, and I'm probably encouraged by his obvious passion around waste. But what worries me around this issue of waste management, I think we should get rid of the word waste. I think that's important. I think we should be referring it to as resource management rather than, going back to the. I can understand sometimes when you come from a party which is a bit backward, you might be going back in the years a little bit. But the Labor Party would well know that we need to move forward, and I think resource management is an appropriate clause, and I look forward to the report when it comes to us.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Councillor Elmore.
Thank you. And I congratulate the councillor as well on his latest speech.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I have Councillor Garrard's name here, but of course that was Councillor Christou on my screen, and now I have Councillor Garrard. Your name actually, Councillor Garrard's name on my screen, which is a reference to yourself, is actually after Councillor Elmore. So, Councillor Elmore. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Elmore.
Is the chat on the other side finished?
It is.
I can proceed, can I?
You can.
Thank you. And I congratulate Councillor Hussein on this notice of motion.
Excuse me, Councillor Elmore. Look, It is really important, councillors, that we remain silent while other people are concentrating on the speech that they're giving. And I think with a bit of respect, we could get through our council meeting a lot more quickly.
Well,
thank you, Councillor Elmore. You can continue.
well, I'd like to begin. When I grew up, I was taught manners.
Thank you.
Not interrupt people when they're speaking.
Thank you, Councillor.
I do congratulate Councillor Hussein on this notice of motion. It's very important as we move into the future that we reduce waste, green waste.
Councillor Rahme, please. I've just asked that people remain silent.
It's Hussein, not Hussein.
Councillor Rahme.
It's actually disrespectful.
No, it's not.
Point of order.
It's not disrespectful. It's the way Councillor Elmore. No, I already have a point of order before me. I'm sorry, I already have a point of order before me. You'll have to wait your turn. Councillor Hamed.
6.9, Mayor. Every councillor present must be silent to enable the chairperson to be heard without interruption.
Thank you. I uphold that point of order as I've asked all the way through this meeting. If people could please stop interrupting each other. Councillor Rahme, you have a point of order.
Clause 6.9, if Councillor Hamed can stop interjecting when I'm speaking.
She didn't interrupt.
She did interrupt.
She raised a point of order. Thank you, Councillor Rahme.
And a result of that was her interrupting my speech.
Councillor Rahme, a point of order is a permissible interruption, strangely enough.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
I learned something.
We're all learning. Councillor Elmore. Thank you. I'm glad you're invigorated. Thank you, Councillor Elmore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No wonder people are turning off this council, and we're getting comments from the general public about how disruptive and how disorganised our council meetings are, and people aren't watching them anymore. That's not surprising. Anyway, let me get back to reducing greenhouse gases, and particularly methane. As we know, methane is one of the worst greenhouse gases, and that's produced by food waste when it goes in a landfill. If we can reduce the amount of green waste that goes in a landfill, we'll be able to reduce the damaging greenhouse gases. And I know that many councils already introduced this FOGO system, and I think that it's about time that our councils started to do some work towards reducing this.
Please proceed, Councillor Elmore.
Can I proceed? Without getting sneery looks and smirks on faces and giggles and... Oh, I'm paranoid, am I?
No one said anything.
You did. You said paranoid. So I'll just continue. If we're going to get continuously interrupted like this, I can't see any real need to keep going, because we're not going to get anywhere. But I note that many other councils have already brought the system in, and I think it's about time Cumberland Council did some preliminary work to work out how actually in the future how we're going to implement this system and reduce our green waste.
Thank you, Councillor Elmore. Councillor Christou.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to begin by thanking Councillor Elmore's understudy, Councillor Hussein, on his maiden speech. I've been waiting 5 months for the privilege, and I can see even Councillor Hussein's own colleague, Councillor Khan, dressed up for the occasion in his tracksuits. So, look, I think it's an appropriate subject that you discuss waste. Given the company you keep, I support it. I will support this motion tonight on waste, and I look forward to the riveting report that's going to come back on the matter of waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zaiter.
Madam Mayor, just got a question, just something that was mentioned by Councillor Elmore. Maybe I misunderstand what this particular request is for, but maybe to the relevant council officer, this FOGO service, isn't it simply to allow people to separate their organic waste and possibly use it as garden organics? What's it for, firstly?
Perhaps I might direct that to the General Manager and could be a little bit more clear.
Yeah, whoever's...
Thank you.
will answer the question.
Through you, Mayor, Councillor, that's my understanding, but I'll get
Yeah,
Daniel
okay.
Covello, who's the expert in the area, and Mr Anderson to give you the detail on it.
Yeah, through the Mayor, in terms of FOGO, so the intent of FOGO is to separate organics from general waste.
Yep.
And studies have shown that a significant proportion of general waste is made up of organics.
Yep.
So there's a benefit in terms of reduction in garden organics, but it also links to the state government strategy on net zero emissions, and that provides a contribution in terms of the waste and the generation of that waste in terms of emissions. By having FOGO and finding other ways of reusing it, it's a strategy that the state government's waste and sustainable materials strategy says is a way of contributing to net zero emissions.
So maybe I misunderstand this, but if we separate the organic waste that's there anyway and possibly use it on garden beds and so on, what's the difference between that and potentially it going into landfill? I can understand the benefit of actually reusing the waste. That's a benefit, I can understand that. But how does that reduce emissions? Because it's either going to deteriorate on a garden bed or it's going to deteriorate in a landfill. What's the difference?
So through the Mayor, the difference with landfill is the energy used to actually move the material and store it and process it. So by reducing the amount of landfill, that reduces the energy requirements, which has an impact on emissions. So by the reuse of it for organics, it means that emissions can be reduced, which contributes to the state government's net zero emissions strategy.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that explains it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Zaiter. I might just direct people to a report, if you're interested, a Department of Planning and Industry report entitled New South Wales Waste and Sustainable Materials Strategy 2041, but it's a stage 1 report dealing with the period 2021 to 2027, and it does explain this FOGO system fairly clearly, but essentially it's about reducing carbon emissions based on the
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Zaiter. Councillor Hamed.
Mayor, can I just start by expressing absolute disgust at the way those opposite have been behaving tonight? Can I say that if they bothered reading anything about anything, they would know that the Environment Protection Agency actually set policy and a strategy for, you'll like this, Councillor, resource recovery. How's that for a term, huh? And that is all about, surprise, surprise, keeping stuff out of landfill, which, yes, of course, reduces carbon emissions. For some reason, that seems to be rocket science. Can I tell you that the waste levy per tonne for the red bin, and I'll use colours to make it simpler, is $150 per tonne. As an incentive, the green bin is $90 per tonne. No, I'm looking at you, Councillor Zaiter, actually.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Rahme.
I'd like to remind Councillor Hamed 1511B about directing insults. Her comment about keeping it red to make it simpler insinuates that Councillor Zaiter is a dope.
Is that how you feel, Councillor?
No, Councillor Christou, there's a motion, there's a point of order before me. Thank you. You don't enter into debate over the point of order. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the comment. Can somebody replace, Councillor Rahme, can you again suggest to me what the comment was?
Can I withdraw, Madam Mayor?
I'll just have to rule on the point of order first. Yes, you can withdraw it, the comment that I didn't hear, but let me hear the comment.
So before I tell you the comment, when Councillor Zaiter said, "Why are you talking to me?" she said, it was directed at him, and she basically said, or not she, Councillor Hamed basically said that I'm talking about red bins and using colours to make it simpler for you, which in my opinion insinuates that.
No, look, I don't think that was an insult, but I do accept that Councillor Hamed is withdrawing a
comment that wasn't even directed at Councillor Hamed about donkeys is something that needs to be upheld, but yet a comment directed to Councillor Zaiter about red bins and keeping it simple does not insinuate anything to you.
No, because colours do make things simple for everyone, Councillor Rahme. Anyway,
No problem.
I've overruled that.
No problems.
We'll continue.
Please continue, Councillor Hamed. No worries.
Mayor, can I say the point I was making is that this is actually quite a serious issue. It's about the environment. Carbon emissions are a thing. We need to reduce our carbon emissions. And can I commend... You will be silent while I'm speaking because that's how things work. Through you, Mayor, of course. Now, this is a mandate, Mayor, that's given to us by the state government, and we need to make sure that by 2030 we've got our work done. Now, this is behavioural change.
Right. I'm really starting to feel that 1511 is being breached. I'll ask that you remain silent, and I'm giving you a warning, Councillor Christou. Thank you, Councillor Hamed.
This is a risk mitigation measure, Mayor, so that we are reducing our carbon emissions. Can I say that I'm extremely glad that Councillor Hussein has done the work, has read the papers and brought this to Council. What Councillor Hussein is trying to achieve, and myself, of course, are trying to achieve through this motion is that a report come back by the staff to hopefully have a trial of the FOGO program. So we're not dictating what we'd like to happen, but we'd like a report from the experts in Council to give us some advice on how a FOGO program would look like. I completely wholeheartedly support the motion and thank Councillor Hussein for putting it forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hamed. Councillor Rahme.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question for the relevant officer.
Thank you.
So with this FOGO...
Through the General Manager, Councillor Rahme, to an officer.
Who was I speaking to?
To me. Go through the General Manager.
No worries. I was just following Councillor Hamed's lead, that's all. Sorry. So to you, Mr. General Manager, so this FOGO gets picked up in a separate bin? Through you, Madam Mayor, to the General Manager. This gets picked up in a separate bin. Obviously, it's getting separated. That's my question I'm asking him.
That's fine.
Everyone's looking at me like I've got a hat on.
No, we're just waiting.
No one's against it. Can you stop interjecting? Did you hear that or not?
I'm not going... I'm asking everybody to remain silent while Councillor Rahme speaks. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, did someone speak or
Rahme.
not? I've got a point of order before you do. Did someone speak or not?
1511
Councillor Coleman. Your point of order.
D.
Yes, Councillor Coleman. 1511D.
1511E does anything that is inconsistent with maintaining order. Shouting at a meeting is completely inconsistent with maintaining order.
You know what else is inconsistent?
Thank you, Councillor Rahme.
Communication from the chair.
Point of order.
Councillor Rahme, point
I've
of
asked
order.
the question and she's interjecting. I asked, did someone interject or not?
Point of order.
Councillors, all councillors, I'm ruling on Councillor Coleman's point of order of 1511E. Inconsistent with maintaining order is shouting. I'll uphold that point of order and I'll ask Councillor Rahme, please lower his voice when he wants to speak. Councillor Rahme, you were speaking and you can continue.
And I got interrupted by Councillor Hamed and nothing, there was no reprimand done for that interjection.
You can continue now, Councillor Rahme.
There was no reprimand done for that interjection.
Councillor Rahme, please continue.
I'd like to know if she interrupted or not. I'm asking a valid question.
Councillor Rahme, everyone has had a go at interrupting this evening.
I'd like that question answered, please.
I can't without going back and looking at the...
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
I will ask Councillor Rahme that you continue with your speech or we will continue on with other speakers.
I've asked the question and I'm waiting for the answer.
I've already answered your question.
No, I'm asking through you to the General Manager.
Thank you.
Councillor Rahme. Have a look. Have a look.
Please.
Have a look. Have a look. Have a look. Have a look. And then you wonder why voices get raised, because of the inconsistency.
That the motion be put, please.
I've asked the question.
We're in the middle of a question, and then I'll take your motion that the motion be put. Thank you, Councillor Rahme. General Manager, would you please answer the question?
Through you, Mayor, Councillor Rahme, it goes into we're asking for these organics to go into the green bin. So there's no separate bin that needs to go out, but I'll get Mr Cavello to just give you the finer details of that point.
So through the Mayor, Councillor, in terms of the FOGO service, other councils that have undertaken it have had a separate bag that's inserted in the green bin. So they'll collect the waste in the household and dispose of it in the green bin in a separate bag, and then that bag is separated as part of the collection service, and those organics are then returned to reuse. So there's different ways that.
So where are they returned?
Councillor Rahme, please. This is not it's not an opportunity for you to continuously ask questions and
Are you serious?
Debate.
I'm actually asking a valid question.
Councillor Rahme, please don't raise your voice with me. Councillor Cavello, Mr Cavello.
Yeah, through the Mayor, so Councillor, when the service is collected, the material's then sorted at the facility generally, and then it's reused as organics or reprocessed into something that's reusable. So with the report to Council, should it be supported tonight, we'll provide that level of detail in the report so there's a clear understanding exactly what we're trialling and how the process works. There's information publicly that's available that outlines that, but we'll make sure that if the motion's supported tonight, we'll ensure that information is included in the report, so there's that information for councillors to understand the process.
Thank you, Mr Cavello.
I have another question.
Councillor Rahme.
It's a quick one.
Oh.
Will you be adding in the report whether it actually does lead to net zero emissions? Because obviously whenever I hear the word processing, I get a bit nervous about this whole bandwagon of net zero emissions, which I agree with 100%, it's totally important. But from what I've learned in the trade, a lot of the times when we talk net zero emissions, it's a lot harder to achieve than just a throwaway comment. And there were a few times you dropped the word processing.
Councillor Rahme, just a question.
And picking up separately.
Just a question.
Would it be possible that in the report that comes back, we actually, we get to a final recommendation as to whether, when we look at all the processing and separate picking up and whatever, that it actually does or is likely to lead to net zero emissions? Through you, Madam Mayor, to the relevant officer.
I think Mr Cavello's heard it.
Yeah, so through the Mayor, we can provide the detail of where it's identified that net zero emissions or contribution to that can be achieved.
There's no point of order. Mr Cavello's answering.
Point of order on what's happening in parallel with what?
I will take your point of order after Mr Cavello's answered the question. Please, you've asked the officer a question. Thank you.
I've stated my answer, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Cavello. Your point of order.
That's all right. You know what? Don't worry about it. All good.
Thank you. Is there? I've had a motion that the motion be put. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak against this motion?
Who put the motion that needs to be put? No one's argued against it.
If there's no one to speak against the motion, I'm able to put the motion. If you have a question to ask, I'll allow you to ask the question, Councillor Zaiter.
Now, certain comments have been made regarding people's. I mean, a lot of these questions would have been simply minimised if we were provided with a bit more information about the FOGO policy. At the moment,
it's a question, Councillor Zaiter.
No, I'm getting to it.
Thank you.
People have been congratulated based on the work they've done to.
Councillor Zaiter, we're not in debate. You're asking a question.
We got given 4 lines about this FOGO policy. It doesn't explain anything about the policy. That's the reason why all these questions have been asked. And then while we're asking questions during council meeting, we're getting a bit of a hit back here on the basis of we're asking questions.
Councillor Zaiter, the motion, as I understand it, is asking for the information.
That's the
basis of the motion.
I'd like to know what the policy is in order to determine whether a report's required. So let's all just say yes to every single one.
Ask the question, Councillor Zaiter, and we will get on with it.
So my question is it's simple. There's no attachments to this motion. There's a 4-line general manager's advice, which is not very descriptive. Can I suggest next time around when we get a motion like this, that we get a bit more detail about what the policy is, so we have an understanding. So
you have a
we
question
can do our
to ask,
research. Yeah,
Councillor Zaiter?
that's my comment, Madam Mayor. My comment is, in the future, can we have a bit more information?
Councillor Zaiter,
This kind of
you
motion.
told me that you were going to ask a question, which is why I allowed you
Would it
to
be possible
speak.
for the General Manager in the future to provide additional information about policies such as this to minimise the requirement for councillors in chamber to ask the questions in order for them to understand what's been moved?
General Manager, would you like... Excuse me, please. General Manager, would you like to answer that question?
Through you, Mayor, answers yes.
Great. It wasn't that hard, was it?
Thank you, Councillor Zaiter. There's a motion that the motion be put. I have an indication that nobody is going to speak against the motion, so I'm going to put that the motion be put.
I'm going to speak against the motion. I'll be voting against the motion.
Councillor...
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Rahme, resume your seat. You'll be allowed to speak against the motion.
No, I've got a point of order.
I have Councillor Hamed wishing to ask a question. What's your point of order, Councillor?
So you asked for me to speak, hence indicating that I had the floor.
Exactly.
And at that point, coincidentally, Councillor Hamed interjected. So based on clause 15.11,
Actually, I think...
sorry, 6.9, Councillor Hamed needs to remain silent while her fellow councillors are about to enter into a riveting speech.
Thank you, Councillor Rahme.
Will you uphold that point of order?
I'm waiting for your riveting speech, but I heard Councillor Hamed say that she wished to ask the question before you indicated that you were going to speak.
I'm going to stand and speak.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman.
Clause 10.21, a councillor must not, without the consent of the council, speak more than once on a motion. Councillor Rahme already spoke on the motion, Mayor.
I asked the question, learn the rules.
Who's going against it?
Maybe ask your mum, she knows a lot more.
Councillor.
Congratulating Councillor Hussein
Yeah.
on the motion and saying he completely supported it. He's already spoken on the motion, Mayor.
I've changed my mind, I want to speak against it now.
Just pardon me a minute.
I asked the question, I didn't make a speech.
It's Councillor Coleman, you're correct that Councillor Rahme did speak earlier, but it was in relation to a question. Thank you, Councillor Rahme. I will, however, allow Councillor Hamed to ask her question first before you speak. Thank you, Councillor Hamed.
For you, Mayor, to the relevant officer, has FOGO been previously... have councillors had communications about FOGOs in their inboxes and or the councillor portal?
Thank you. General Manager.
I can answer that for you. The answer is yes.
No,
okay,
Councillor Hamed.
I've got another question, if I may.
Through you, Mayor, there has been information with respect to FOGO provided to the chamber previously.
Thank you. I'm hoping that Councillor Zaiter heard that. The other question is, has this FOGO program, or has this not FOGO program, been all over social media? It has.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hamed. Councillor Rahme, you can speak now against... You want to speak against the request for a report? Yep.
Not on the premise. So who should I address, yourself or the GM, just to be sure that I'm not...
You can address it to me. Thank you, Councillor Rahme.
So through you, GM, to the Madam Mayor, I'll be speaking against this motion, not on the premise of net zero emissions or climate change or anything to do with the environment, because I wholeheartedly agree with those principles and understand their importance. But I'm against this motion based on the fact that I don't run my life off social media, and unless I'm provided a report with even a rough explanation as to how this can potentially run and what it roughly involves, so that I know what I'm voting on and what I'm pushing in terms of council officers going and then doing work to create a report. I can't base decisions on 3 lines and on acronym FOGO. So in future, we need to be given some sort of context and some sort of direction as to where this is heading so that we can make an informed decision and vote on that properly. And so that's why I'll be opposing the motion, not based on its principles. I'm all for preserving the environment and doing everything we can to minimise emissions and to do our part for the environment.
Thank you, Councillor Rahme. Councillor Christou.
I had my button pressed.
No, you didn't mean to.
Oh, right.
Councillor Sarkis, you haven't spoken tonight.
No, I haven't, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I want to commend Councillor Hussein on bringing this forward to the table. I do know about FOGO. I've even asked the GM some questions about it as recently as today and previously as well. I think the program, I hear only positive things about it, so I commend it being brought to the table and I look forward to this report being brought back.
Thank you, Councillor Sarkis. I have no further speakers before me. I'll ask for Councillor Hussein to give his right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You waive your right of reply, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour of this Hussein Hamed motion, please raise your hands. Councillor Faruqi, Councillor Elmore, Councillor Hussein, Councillor Hamed, Councillor Coleman, Councillor Saha, Councillor Huang, Councillor Lake, Councillor Christou, Garrard, Hughes, Zaiter and Councillor Sarkis. All those against? Yeah, no, Councillor Rahme is against the motion. I declare the motion carried and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.